Good afternoon, rather, and welcome to day 26 of 90 Days Through the Word. My name is Sonia McCullough Lockridge, and I joy to come to you in this fashion. And today our reading finds us in 1 Kings 16:21 through 2 Kings 4:37. That's right, you guys. We are jumping into 2 Kings today. So let's just give it a good start with chapter 16 and Ahab. Chapter 16 and Ahab. So Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger than all the other kings of Israel before him. So, Ahab, a very, very bad king. Chapter 17, Elijah and the widow. We are presented in chapter 17 with the story of Elijah and the widow. Chapter 18, we are presented with the story of Elijah and the servant of the Lord, where ultimately he ends up slaughtering prophets through the will of the Lord after an encounter with Ahab at Mount Carmel. The story of Mount Carmel is in chapter 18 of the book of 1 Kings. Chapter 19, the Lord informs Elijah of his pending replacement, Elisha. The Lord informs Elijah of his pending replacement, Elisha. Chapter 20, seeking trouble. Ben-Hadad, Ahab defeats Ben-Hadad after Ben-Hadad seeks trouble by wanting to take basically everything Ahab had, and actually says that. He wants, I want your wife, I want your children, I want all your things. So he was seeking trouble and he ended up in trouble. Chapter 21, Ahab averts immediate disaster by humbling himself before the Lord. Ahab averts immediate disaster by humbling himself before the Lord. Chapter 22, Ahab is wounded in battle and dies. Ahab is wounded in battle and dies. Jehoshaphat reigns 25 years, and Uzziah reigns and made Israel sin and places in Israel in the midst of his own sin. 2 Kings, chapter 1. Elijah predicts the death of Uzziah. I think it's Uzziah. 3 times. There's an encounter 3 times, and Elijah commands fire to consume 50 folks on a mount when they come before him. Chapter 2, Elijah and Elisha cross over the Jordan on dry land, and Elijah blesses Elisha with a double portion of his spirit. Chapter 3, the Israelites strike the Moabites. Chapter 3 of Kings, the Israelites strike the Moabites. Now, we're pulling our lesson for today. We're pulling our lesson for today from chapter 20 of 2 Kings. Of 1 Kings, chapter 20 of 1 Kings. So, when we seek trouble, we often find trouble. When we seek trouble, we often find trouble. So let's just go to 1 Kings chapter 20 and look at the words of Ben-Hadad. Let's just call him Ben. Let's look at the words of Ben. Ben, the king of Syria, gathered all his army together, 32 kings with him, and horses and chariots, and went up and closed in on Samaria and fought against it, and sent messengers into the city of Ahab, the king of Israel, and said to him, Thus says Ben, your silver and your gold are mine. Your best wives and children are mine. He is seeking trouble. So often when we seek trouble, we find trouble. From 1 Kings 20. 1 Kings 20. That's our lesson for today. Very, very simple, very simplistic. Now, yesterday, I said a particular number in regards to the number of times the word heart is used in what we were speaking about. And I misspoke. That number was incorrect, but heart is mentioned 31 times in the particular book that we were looking at yesterday. Number 2, kings is hard. It's a lot of kings, and there's a lot of moving places in this book of Kings. So this morning I sought out a chart that lines up the kings and who were the bad kings and who were the good kings and where and when they reigned and what chapters of the Old Testament they're mentioned in. So if you go to our community link, you will see that handout. It's from another source. I just pulled it up. It's from another source. It's a good source. You will see that handout in the community tab. So that we're not studying, but it doesn't hurt while we're gathering and while we're reading when we realize that something is a lot. The kings are a lot. 42 kings, that's a lot. That's a lot. So in order, excuse me, in order to better acquaint ourselves with the kings, I have put that handout in the community tab for us. And so when we do go to study, or if we study this weekend, or if we find ourselves in a different study of Kings or 2 Kings, or we just need to know who was king and when and where, then we will have this handout. So that's all I have for us today. This is Sonia signing out. Have a blessed day in the Lord. Thanks.